Hey all. Hey, so I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and to the Bears fans, I hope you're recovering and the future is a little bit brighter without your head coach. Uh, this video dedicated to you guys. I'm going to make a tissue box. I looked over a couple different tissue boxes on Etsy and see what everybody was making, and there was a design similar to this and I liked it. So I went into Fusion 360, modeled it, did all the tool pathing, and we'll see if this actually turns out. Hey, if you want this file, it'll be on my Patreon account. I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments. It's good for Fusion 360. I'll have all my tool path generations and all the workflows on how to make this. You can also import that into other softwares like Vetric or Carbide 3D. All those other ones, the 3D meshes will be in there. So if you like it, if you want to download it, great. I'll leave a link in the description. So I wanted to concentrate on just kind of showing the process on how I flatten my wood. And this is all rough cut lumber. It's about 2 inches thick. My target is 1.75 inches. So the best way to do this is just put it in the CNC machine. I ran a flattening pass, very, very shallow in depth. And then I went to my table saw and I made sure that the plane that I just flattened was on the bottom side. So I was very flat. And then I went ahead and I squared everything up to my final dimensions of what I needed to machine. After I squared everything up, I went back into the CNC and I measured from the distance of my bed to the top of that portion, and then I subtracted whatever that distance was to my target width. If you do it correctly, you'll be spot on every single time, and it's really, really fast. So the tool path generation's in there for that, and you shouldn't have any issues if you do any flattening operations. It's a little bit better than using a planer. I like it. I ended up doing 2 boards, and then I went ahead and I started doing all my rough clearing operations, and then I went right into my 3D profiles. So this is all dual-sided operations. So I did the top portion first of the lid, and then I flipped it upside down, and then I did the reverse cut. So my target thickness of the bottom and the top lid was 1/4 inch. So that's pretty small. At the end of the day, it still held its figure, and I don't think over time that the wood will warp or anything. This stuff was really dry. Now you have the option. So you can have no, 3D carve, V-carve. I ended up going with the V-carve. This is included into the file. But again, like, you don't have to put this on. I figured I like the geometric shapes and having it painted. And I don't know if the paint actually looked very good, but just a normal black line on this just probably wouldn't look very good. So you have the option. You can either not do it or you can put it on there. So, but all that stuff is built into the file. If you take it into a different software, the drawing file is there included, and depending on your software, whether you can project that onto the surface or not. But yeah, very, very smooth. It followed the contours perfectly. And I had a little bit of chip out on some of these edges. And I got to rethink my strategy on the speed and some of how it enters into the actual cut. I'm probably going to play around with that for a little bit and see if I can improve it. But sanding and doing all that, you can take the majority of those little small deviations out pretty fast. But for the paint, I ended up using this metallic gold paint. It's just a paint marker. I had a fine tip, so it made it a little bit easier getting all the way into those crevices. But at the end of the day, I don't know if it was bang for the buck, but when you shift the light, this gold metallic paint just hits a little bit different, and it really gives it a really good accent. But when you look at it from the top down, you can just really, it doesn't show. So it's a pretty cool effect. I kind of like it. It's growing on me, but at first I was like, man, this thing is just, it's not going to turn out. I think this was a mistake. But there's no bad mistakes in CNC. You can correct pretty much anything to a certain degree. So I don't know what happened with my camera, but the cutout, I didn't capture the cutout, but on the bottom portion, when we go through the CNC portions of that, I ended up showing that. But again, those contours and the geometric shapes really I really like that look. I think, you know, having contrasting lines on a 3D surface is just, it's super cool. And it can really distinguish a normal project to an excellent project. But I'll let you guys decide that. If you like it, definitely leave a comment and let me know. So this is the second portion, and while this is running, I'm painting those lines, and it probably took me a good 30 minutes to actually make sure paint actually made it all the way down into the crevice. And I got kind of a little lazy, but again, this stuff is painful. I hate painting any kind of wood. I don't like it. I don't know why I keep doing it. But I think in the long run, when you actually see it in the light later in the video, you can really see it really pop. But definitely taking my time. I had enough time for these tool paths to run to really dial that in, and I think it did turn out pretty okay. Critical note: so when you're doing V carving and you're doing these lines, and what ends up happening is if you sand too much, those lines will decrease because your V carve is going in at an angle. So if you start removing material on top, those lines will eventually get smaller to the point where they'll disappear. So you got to be really careful when you actually sand it. You got to take your time. Fortunately with this, I definitely did. And I think it definitely turned out, but you can see where you can just kind of see the paint. But when the light hits it, it just shines, and it gives this really cool shifting, you know, paint scheme on it, and it actually turned out pretty good. So, all right. So total time of machining probably was right around an hour and a half per side times 4. So it took a little bit of time. I don't think this is economically feasible to make and sell, just because of the amount of machine time. But if that's, you know, something that you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. Most people, when they try to price their stuff, they try to hit the $50 to $100 an hour mark on their CNC machine, and just that's not economically feasible with something like this, in my opinion. But to each its own. A lot of people will do 14-hour machining, and they'll sell, you know, those items for the $200 to $300 range. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just how much time you want your machine, the wear and tear, the bits, all of those things go into account. But with everything cut out, everything was just aligned perfectly. I didn't really do a whole lot. I didn't have to sand because my step over for my 3D ball nose was very small. So I spent maybe 10-15 minutes just doing some 320 light sanding, and yeah, it was perfect. The finish I ended up going with was Rubio Monocoat. I love this stuff. It just, especially with paint, it gets into those crevices and it really highlights that paint pretty well. And when it cures, it really does look good, and how the light hits different aspects of it. Rubio is definitely a good choice for a lot of these different projects. Expensive, don't get me wrong. Like, you got to be committed on some of this stuff, and but at the end of the day, the results really do show pretty well. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching the video. If you guys have questions or anything, definitely leave them in the comments. I'm going to start my live stream, live Q&A, and then I'll do a design-a-thon every week, every Sunday at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you guys have time, definitely check it out. If you like this video, leave a like, leave me a comment, share it. All of those things really do matter for my channel, and I definitely appreciate everyone. All right, with that, I'll leave you guys be. And again, I hope to see you guys at the live Q&A. Again, if you have any questions, just send them my way, and I'll include them in all of that. So, cheers, happy Thanksgiving, and happy holidays. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.